Hello everyone, welcome to Evolve with Jola, and I am Jola. Today we're going to be having a little bit of fun on set. I have a riddle for you. Are you ready? Okay, I am something most of you don't like, but I'm still the only constant thing in your life. What am I? Can you guess what I am? You know what, I'm just going to save you from cracking up in thoughts. I am change, the only constant thing in your life. And yes, most of you don't like change because you like to maintain status quo. Welcome to the show. Our topic for today is dealing with change. We're going to dive right into it after this short break. Don't go anywhere. So I have a philosophy, which is if you can't run from it, face it head on. Change is something that you cannot run away from, so you have to face it and make the best of it. Some in the bid to avoid change actually miss their moment of promotion. Growth is change. Promotion is change. Progress is change. So in the process of running away from change, we might just be running away from that promotion or that growth or progress. So change comes with uncertainty, but somewhere deep in there is certainty. Take that word uncertainty, throw out the there you have it, certainty. Joining me in the studio today is our first male guest, a corporate brand strategist, youth leader, coach, and banker, Mr. Chikodi Ngwaba, a communication expert with over 12 years experience working with some of the biggest financial institutions in Nigeria. He currently holds a seat on the board of a digital magazine for men's fashion, a multimedia agency, and several NGOs. Hello, Mr. Chikodi, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
It's so nice to have you on the show, your first male guest.
Oh, really? It's nice to be here.
I'm so excited to have you here. Okay, so you know, change is a constant thing. It's something we can't run from. No matter how much you try to run, it's always still there, you know. Yeah. We just have to face it. So many people have different opinions about change. They tell me change is this, change is that, change is this. So for you, can you give me a brief explanation of what you think change is?
Okay, yeah. So for me personally, I feel change is when something is different. So basically, you know, something is one way, maybe created that way, maybe manufactured that way, and then all of a sudden it becomes different. That's a change. A change has occurred. And I feel like if I could use the cliche that change is a constant thing. I know people say that a lot, but they don't really know how true that statement is. I'll give you an example. When a child is born, whether that child does anything, in fact, the child doesn't even have to do anything, change constantly begins to occur from that moment in that child's life. Whether it's physical change, whether it's a mental change, whether it's the change in their physiology, but that change just happens, whether that child does anything or not. So sometimes it might not be from your doing, sometimes it might be circumstances beyond your control, but change is bound to happen. If I keep a car, for instance, I park a car in my compound and just cover it there, nobody touches it. I come back 14 years after, I'm going to make some changes in that vehicle, no matter how well I try to preserve it. And so for me, I feel that change is when something happens or when something acts on a particular body and causes it to be different. A particular body, it could also mean circumstances, it could also mean environment, it could also mean relationships, it could mean everything that pertains to the person's life. Yeah, so that's how I see change.
Okay. You know, in certain situations, I found it very, very hard to adapt to change. Like, I find it hard to actually stop a certain thing I'm doing. You know, it's not so easy for me. I'm sure it's not just me, right? My viewers out there as well also have this, most of them have the same issues. How can we adapt to changes?
Yes, you're right. It's not just you. In fact, even personally, if I could change one thing about me, per se, I would say, I think I would I would focus more on executing the things that I told myself I was going to execute. You know, that's procrastination. But yeah, it happens with everybody. A lot of people, you know, are trying to make one change or the other, or are trying to cope with one change or the other. So I would just say that the first thing that you need to understand is that a change will happen. Whether be it a bad habit, be it a bad habit that you're trying to change, or be it something that you just want to remain constant. It doesn't matter how you see it, but change is going to happen. There's a popular saying, something will kill a man, you know. So either that habit, you know, runs you to the point where some major changes happen in your life, and in fact, it can even develop and become worse. It may not even remain the same way it is. So yes, change is constantly happening. Now, in order for you to get on the driver's seat, and in order for you to take control of your life, you need to be bold. You know, it's one of the most underrated statements. But when you understand how much fear plays as a factor, you know, in cushioning the effects of change, you get to realize that being bold makes a lot of difference. You know, sometimes it could be scary change, sometimes it could be, you know, just change that brings you discomfort. But how do you, you know, navigate? You need to first of all take control of yourself. Take control of the things that you have control over, and then you can be able to navigate through the things that you don't have control over. So for me, I would say be bold, be courageous, face that thing head on. If you're trying to make a change, first of all, like I said, take control of the things that you have control over, which is yourself, your mind, your mentality, your thinking. That's, you know, will give you the should I use the word backbone to stand and make the particular changes that you need to be made. Now, if a change is happening around you or to you and you have no control over it, you still need to be bold enough to stand and flow along with that change. And you also need to be to have a malleable heart, something that enables you to learn. Go out, seek advice, go out, seek direction, read books, study. So don't just go on social media and take in every junk that you see. Use it to educate yourself, use it to prepare yourself, use it to build yourself. You know, there's a lot of learnings that can happen from changes. There's a lot of learnings that can happen from preparations, you know, for changes. So you need to be able to build yourself to that point where you are knowledgeable enough. You know, you're knowledgeable enough to adapt, because you need to understand that if you do not adapt, you know, you can never ever keep up with the times. If you do not adapt, you know, you go extinct. Adaptation is nature's way, you know, of preparing us to evolve. And like we're here, evolve with Jola. You know, you're helping people, preparing people, you know, to grow into this new world that we have seen ourselves. And that's exactly what evolution is. Evolution is basically adapting to the changes that you meet. You know, we hear about species that have gone extinct. These are species that refuse to evolve.
Okay, so since change is inevitable, are there positive sides and negative sides to it, like the pros and cons?
Yeah, I would say in every scenario where change happens, it could either be seen as positive or negative. Of course, if there are pros and cons to change. One of the pros that comes with change is growth. I said earlier about a child. When a child is born, you know, it could just, through no effort, change happens. It begins to grow, it begins to develop. Yeah. So that can be seen as a positive aspect of change. Then one of the negative aspects of change, I would say, is depreciation. So when something is left on its own, there is no growth happening, there is no evolving taking place. what you begin to see is that that thing begins to break down. Nature begins to break it down. It could also happen in our lives. It could also happen in our relationships. It could also happen, in our physical health too as well. When you don't follow guidelines that the medical professionals or the nutritionists have put in place, and you just begin to take in as many junk as possible, what you find out is that your body begins to break down, your body begins to depreciate. And it also happens in our academics and even in our careers too as well. When you don't consciously grow and add to yourself, when you don't consciously make that change to yourself, nature begins to act on you. Everything begins to act against that, and then that depreciation begins to happen. So yes, the pro of change is growth, and a con is depreciation.
Okay, so thank you so much for that. Any final words?
Okay, so I'm just gonna say this. I know a lot's been happening right now. There's a lot of change going on in the world. You could go to bed and then the next morning you hear something different, something new, something unexpected has happened. There's a lot of that going on. And one advice I'm going to give us is you need to protect yourself from being overwhelmed by all that's going on. It's very important that you protect yourself. If I'm going to borrow another quote from the Bible, it says, guard your heart diligently. That's the most important aspect in this whole journey called life. So you need to guard yourself, protect yourself from everything that's going on. Don't be carried away by a bandwagon effect. Don't join any and every trend that you find, especially on social media today. Some people just hop into any trend and then they just roll with it, and it's very, very unhealthy. It's very dangerous. You need to be deliberate with the kind of change that occurs to you in your heart, in your mind. You need to be deliberate about that. Now, things can happen around the world, things can happen everywhere that you have no control over. That's fine, allow it be. But within you, you need to be able to step into any environment. You need to be able to venture into any new business or any new deal or any new platform with a guarded heart. So when you go in there, you know what you're looking for, you go for it, and then you effect that exact change that you want to happen. Now, if things happen beyond your control, that's fine. Go back, reevaluate yourself, re-educate yourself, and then come out and bounce back even stronger. Trust me, everything that is going on is not to harm you or is not to bring you down. It is for your good, but you need to be deliberate about the way you lead your life. Thank you very much.
My goodness, this has been a very interesting discussion. Trust you enjoyed it and learned from it. So go out now and embrace that change. Be the change the world is waiting for. This is all we've got time for today. Till I see you next week. Stay in touch with us on our Instagram @_Evolve with Jola, on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube @Evolve with Jola. Bye.